Hello everyone, it's Mimi DeLongpre and I'm back with another video. So today I'm going to be reviewing a very hot topic in the makeup community right now, the MorpheXJaclyn Hill Vault. So right now in the makeup community, everyone is basically losing their minds over this collection. So basically what happened is Morphe and Jaclyn Hill teamed up again to basically debut the shadows, the rejects from the MorpheXJaclyn Hill palette, the first one. So all of these palettes and shadows in these palettes are the shadows that just didn't make it to the final product of the MorpheXJaclyn Hill palette, which I did a review on a couple of weeks ago, so be sure to check that out. Right now, for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be reviewing this palette, this vault collection one by one. I have every single one in my arsenal, but I'm going to be doing one week by week. Every review Tuesday, you guys will see a MorpheXJaclyn Hill Vault palette until we get to the final one. So for this first week, I'm going to be reviewing the Dark Magic palette, the more cool toned green and dark blue palette. So this is the unit carton right here. It's basically just like its palette. This is what the palette's front looks like, except for this part and the back. So this is the Dark Magic palette from the MorpheXJaclyn Hill Vault collection. It has 10 shades and it looks like this. I did some swatches on my Insta stories a couple days ago, and overall people were excited to see this. A lot of talk has been going on in the beauty community about this palette, so I'm excited to dip into it. I have not touch these shadows except for swatching them on Insta stories, but I have not done an eye look. I have not tested them on a brush. I have not tested them on a makeup sponge. I haven't tested them on nothing but my fingers. So based on that, I'm gonna go down the rows, tell you guys shade names, the finish, and what I thought of the finger swatches. So starting off with this shade right here, this shade is called Poof, and it is definitely a base shade, a shade that you put on your lid if you're doing like a cool white look. If you are just setting the eye, that is what this shade is for. It definitely is matte, and swatching it, it came out very nicely. The texture was very much buttery and creamy, and it did not feel chalky like some people have been saying about this palette. Next up, we have Power Cut. Now, this is definitely like, if you've seen the new Fenty Beauty highlighter, diamond highlighter, it's almost like that, but in eyeshadow form. I'm putting this on my lid today just so that you guys know. I love this shade right here. It is a metallic finish and I'm excited to try it out. Next up we have Shh, which is obviously a transition shade. It is almost like a nice warm brown for your nice transition shade. These three, when swatched, overall came out nice. And next we have what seems to be like one of my favorite shades in this palette, Trickery. Trickery is that dark green shade right there. I'm obsessed with this shade. I love metallic greens, so this just like made me so happy when I saw it. I'm definitely putting this on my lids too, and it also swatched nicely as well. Next up we have Diversion, which is like a darker version of Power Cut. I don't really like dark metallic shades. I always like brightening up the lid. I always like giving off a nice colorful fantasy color palette. So Diversion, I don't really see myself using this in the future, but who knows, maybe I'll feel adventurous one day, do like a smoky eye. So also with Diversion, it did swatch. This top row basically all swatched very nicely. I had no complaints about this top row. It's when we get to this bottom row right here where I have some issues. So starting off with the ugliest shade in this palette, I don't care what you say. I am gonna use it today because it's going to be blocked by Inside Drop, but Potion. With such a nice name, it is not a nice color. This is like some get out of my swamp type of situation, and I am not living for this shade at all. It is an ugly shade. When finger swatched very patchy. On Insta stories, it might have looked a little bit more opaque, but I had gone in, I think, 3 times swatching it on my arm. So just putting that out there. And then we have Busted, another one of my favorite shades in this palette. So Busted is like a nice, rich blue. It's like a royal blue shade. It's matte, it's creamy. So definitely with Busted, I'm excited about using this today. It also swatched very creamy as well. Next up, we have another one of my favorites in this palette, Inside Job, which is a matte version of Trickery. It is basically just another dark green in this palette. And I am not angry about this shade at all. I love dark greens. I told you guys earlier. Swatched very nicely, had no complaints about this so far. Next up, we have Mojo, which is a dark brown of the palette. I always love a dark brown in a palette, in a shadow, period, because it just, you could use it for literally anything if you're just doing a brown smoky eye, if you're doing a regular smoky eye. So I was very disappointed when I swatched it. It was the patchiest, most nastiest shade out of every single shade in this palette. I do not like it so far. If it goes on nicely today, because I am going to be using Mojo today, who knows, maybe it can shut me up. And finally, we have Temptress, which is a glittery, it's not even shimmery, it's a glittery black shade. I don't see myself using this because I don't like glitter blacks at all. But if I do use it, maybe in the future, maybe in a future tutorial to test out the rest of the shades. The swatching was terrible, if you guys saw on Insta stories. Potion, Mojo, and Temptress all swatched pretty bad. Very patchy, very looking dry and ashy, and overall was just not cute. And there we have it. That is the 10 shades broken down in this palette. So without further ado, let's get into the first impressions / tutorial on the Dark Magic palette from Jaclyn Hill x Morphe. Alrighty, so eyes are primed. I am now going to tap into some of these shades. I'm now going to go in with, so I think I'm going to go in with Potion first, even though I despise this shade, because I am going to be doing a green smoky eye, which is kind of why I didn't post on Saturday like I promised on Instagram. So taking a nice little blending brush and a smudger brush duo from a palette that is no longer in my collection, taking Potion right here, and just tap, and I am just ever so slightly tapping in. So putting this in the crease, hopefully she is not patchy like in the swatch, I pray. Let's see, y'all see that? Y'all hear something? This is definitely coming on not as patchy as I thought it would be, which is a nice thought, but it is still sort of, kind of, just a little bit more on the patchier side, as I am trying to get this in. There's certain areas where it's like very pigmented and I'm like, okay, fine, that is a nice green transition. And then there's other parts where I'm like, sis, what are you doing? That's another reason why I haven't been posting. My brushes are falling apart and I just bought new ones from, you know, Morphe. They're on the way, and I promise you will not see this brush ever again afterwards. Like, look at that. The bristles are literally coming off, and I still have to use this until possibly Thursday. So I will have to film and edit right away after getting my brushes, which is always fun. So overall with Potion on the eyes, I am not disappointed. I'm quite pleased with this. It is not as patchy as I thought it would be because of the swatch. That's one thing about swatches. You know, sometimes a swatch can make something look a little bit more nastier and gross than it actually is. And with Potion, as you guys can see, is all over my crease. I am not angry. I am not angry at this at all. So that is a good sign going into this tutorial. All right, next up, going in with Inside Job right there. I'm very excited about going into the shade because it's like one of my favorite shades from the palette. Going in with the same brush because it's just a darker version. Oh. And immediately getting some fallout. Once again, I told you guys in the past, I am not that crazy. Like, I am not that crazy. I'm like, oh my God, there's fallout. Like, I don't care as long as it's not like breaking enough product to where I'm like, I just wasted so much money. Now, mind you, these are $15, but some people don't have $15. You know what I mean? So now going in with Inside Job, it swatched beautifully. Hopefully it looks good on the brush. Oh, yes. Okay, look at that. That's gorgeous. Now let me just finish blending so she doesn't look like a hot mess. Okay, So now I'm getting into a little bit of difficulty with Inside Job. It seems like right where my lid opens up now, it is refusing to stay, and it's going more on the outer portion, which is kind of annoying. Let me go back in with the brush and hopefully that can fix that. And if not, then I must speak to the manager. All right, so now with that all being in the crease, it is time to blend it out using a bigger blending brush. Later this week, I'll be able to tell you guys, like, this is a Morphe, something, something, something. Like, I'll be able to do that later this week, but for now, just go in with a bigger blending brush and blend out the edges so it doesn't look so harsh. So blending it out, it does look good now. Definitely much softer. So blending it out now, the edges are nice and soft. It looks good. Like, I have no complaints so far, besides, you know, the fallout's a little annoying. And that's coming from me, someone who doesn't really care about fallout. But besides that, I ultimately like these two shades together. It was a nice transition shade. Potion was a nice transition shade, and Inside Job is a gorgeous crease shade. All right, so moving on from the crease. All right, so going in with the same tiny blending brush I went in with Potion and Inside Job with, I am now going to be going in with Mojo on the outer corner. So definitely this has the same amount of fallout as Potion, which wasn't a lot. Definitely less fallout than Inside Job. No, it swatched terribly a couple days ago. Will it swatch nicely today on my eye? Let's see. All right, bringing you guys up nice and close. Hello. And just putting this on my outer corner. So that definitely packed a punch on my outer corner. Going back in with that blending brush, that giant blending brush, and just patting it in and blending it out. So I will say I am having a little bit of difficulty trying to spread this out without disrupting anything else. So just going in with a little bit more and trying to really get it to work with me. Alrighty, so far giving you guys a nice smoky fantasy with the 3 shades. Ooh, keep having to do that. With the 3 shades I have touched, Potion, Inside Job, and Mojo, I am definitely not angry so far. I would say the only shade I have an issue with, so far the only shade I've come to issues with is Mojo. Just please be sure to blend her out. I think she'll do you a little bit nicely. So continuing, going in with Trickery and putting that in the center of the lid. And then finally, Power Cut to put in the inner of the lid. Now going in with the smudger part, I will be going in with Trickery, my favorite shade out of all the shades in this palette, and seeing how she works on the inner of the lid. Oh, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. All right, next up, going in with Power Cut on the inner lid. Going in with another smudger brush. Oh, and by the way, no fallout whatsoever in the metallics. Extremely impressed with that, with hella pigment. So that's a good sign. Oh, bitch. Look at that. That is gorgeous. Oh, she's deceased. The top portion done. I am extremely impressed with this green smoky eye and the shadows. All these shadows were pigmented. All of them were nice. The only one, again, that would need help is Mojo. So far, it is time to go in to the under eye. Now, using something not related to the palette, I'm going to be going in with my knobby eyeliner on the under eye just to give my eye a little bit more oomph. When I do smoky eyes, I love going in with a dark eyeliner. With the eyeliner on, it's time to go in with another smudger brush and going in with Busted. All right, definitely more fallout, kind of like Inside Job. You're like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. So what I've noticed so far is that the mattes definitely have more fallout than the metallics in this palette, which is kind of to be expected because it's easier to add like pressed glitters in than it is to actually create a shade just being matte. So definitely not a negative, but not a positive. All right, so now putting Busted on the lower lash line. All right, with that now being on the lower lash line, I'm going in with this brush, this circular pointed brush, I don't know what it's called, and blending out that bottom. So there's not that many metallics in this palette. There's only 3 metallics. There's nothing I can really do an inner corner with besides Power Cut, which is already on my lid. So I think I will have to go into a different palette if I want to do an inner corner highlighter. So going in with Milky Way. All right, so with all of that done, I am loving how this turned out. I'm gonna do the other eye and basically everything else except for lips, and back with a final review. Be right back. All right, so now that I have everything on, it is now time for lipstick, setting spray, and then the final review on the Jaclyn Hill x Morphe Vault Part 1, the Dark Magic Palette. All right, so for lips today, I'm going to be going in with the Milani lipstick in the shade Black Cherry. So now it's time for setting spray. I'm going to be going in with the Mario Badescu setting spray. Not really a setting spray. It's more of like a multi-purpose spray. It can be used for like a toner, a setting spray, a primer, or just a refresher. So I'm going to be using this as a setting spray today. All right, and that concludes this entire look. I am giving you guys definitely a nighttime fantasy. Let me put on some quick drag and I will be right back. All right, everybody, and this is the finished look. I am feeling definitely my fishy fantasy today. Fishy basically just means, you know, you're feeling your woman fantasy. You're feeling like fierce and fish, and that's how I'm feeling. I definitely see how this hair does not correlate, or like you'd have to see the full dress to see how it correlates. But overall, I am loving this look. This is giving me like I'm about to kill you vibes. So looking at this palette, looking at the packaging, I wasn't so happy about the packaging. I thought it was basic. And also it's that white packaging that can get dirty real quick again. But looking at these shadows and the formulas, I obviously did not receive one of those bad palettes that people have been receiving, that is patchy, that is dry, that is chalky. That is not this palette at all, in my version at least. They are creamy, they are nice. Some of them might have looked weird on my arm doing finger swatches, but overall, oh my goodness, they are so good to me right now. Potion comes off a little bit darker than it is in the pan. My favorite shades out of all would be Trickery, which is that metallic green, Busted in Inside Job, and some that kind of worry me are Mojo, Potion, and I would say Diversion only because I would never use it. Once again, I am not disappointed with this palette at all. I would say let the hype die down. Let a couple of weeks kind of go by and then you buy this palette just to make sure you get a good palette. You know what I mean? But overall, I'm really pleased with my palette. I am really loving this eye look. If you guys like it too, be sure to do it on yourselves. Be sure to just sit down and do the eye tutorial part of this review first impressions. But overall, I'm really, really pleased. Alrighty, and that concludes part 1 of the MorpheXJaclyn Hill Vault Dark Magic Palette. So that concludes today's video, everyone. Thank you guys so much for watching. If I could get this hair out my face. Hold on. There we go. Thank you guys so much for watching. So if you liked this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up. And you want to see more great videos like this, please be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. I post every Tuesday and Friday. And if you want to be notified about when I post on Friday, please be sure to hit that bell notification so you get a notification about every single time I post. I love you guys. I will see you on Friday, and I mean that. I promise I will be posting from now on more frequently, more commonly, and just more womanly. I love you guys. I'm gonna take this makeup off now, even though I love it. I can't wait for all of the new products to come in that I have purchased so I can do some glamorous reviews on those. So without further ado, I will see you guys on Friday. Bye.